Hey everyone. For the MSW 654 evaluation case application, I am continuing to use the population from the 2009 film Precious. Introduction. Precious Jones is a 16-year-old African-American female living in Harlem, New York in the 1980s. She is experiencing severe and chronic abuse, neglect, poverty, and social isolation. She has survived physical, emotional, and sexual abuse at the hands of her parents and is currently pregnant with her second child as a result of incest. She is being forced out of her traditional school due to illiteracy and is later given the opportunity to engage in an alternative educational program where social workers and teachers begin supporting her through her trauma and personal goals. This presentation will examine Precious's situation as a multi-system case analysis rather than an individual failing. The identified social problems in the case are intergenerational trauma, child abuse and neglect, educational marginalization and systemic school exclusion, poverty, housing instability, and limited access to resources. The combination of these social problems make Precious more vulnerable and limit her access to protective services. Framing the case in this way will allow the social worker to evaluate interventions that address individual healing while also examining family dynamics and community-level inequities that sustain harm. Intervention strategies and goals. At the individual level, intervention strategies will consist of trauma-informed therapy, alternative schooling, case management, and prenatal and parenting support for Precious. Goals include increasing literacy, reducing trauma-related symptoms, improving self-esteem and self-advocacy skills. At the family level, intervention strategies include safety planning, child protective services involvement, and psychoeducation. Goals will include ensuring physical and emotional safety, disrupting cycles of abuse and neglect, and clarifying caregiver roles and accountability. At the community level, intervention strategies include educational and public benefits, housing assistance, and culturally responsive community-based organizations. The goals include increasing access to stable housing, education, and healthcare, and strengthening community-based support systems. Across the multi-system levels, ADEI principles guide practice by addressing power imbalances, affirming identity, and reducing structural barriers rather than placing responsibility solely on Precious. Reflective narratives can allow Precious and her family to deepen their understanding of their resilience and growth. This will also empower them to separate themselves from their problems and reframe struggles into a strengths-based perspective. Single subject design. The methodology will include baseline data collection prior to intervention, ongoing data collection during intervention phases, and comparison of progress over time. The data collected will include literacy assessments and school attendance records, trauma symptom checklists, case notes, and reflective narratives. Data will be analyzed through trends to examine change over time, qualitative thematic analysis of client narratives, and findings used to adjust interventions and support advocacy for continuing services. Qualitative thematic analysis will be used to identify, analyze, and report patterns seen in data. Precious's needs are intense. This approach allows us to gather a baseline of data to then track her progress over time. Family Assessment Plan. The methodology used will be ecological and trauma-informed family assessment using interviews, observations, and records review. The data collected will include family structure and history of abuse, patterns of interaction, power and community, and caregiver capacity and safety risks. The connection to the identified problem identifies how intergenerational trauma, untreated mental health needs, and structural stressors contribute to abuse and neglect, directly linking family dynamics to Precious's trauma and educational neglect. The trauma-informed and ecological assessment allows the social worker to understand family dynamics without placing any blame on Precious. Community analysis. The methodology used will be a community needs assessment using secondary data and service mapping. Data collection will include poverty and housing instability indicators, availability of alternative educational programs, and access to healthcare, mental health, and social services. The connection to the identified problem highlights how community-level resource gaps and systemic inequities reinforce family stress and limit intervention effectiveness, emphasizing the needs for coordinated, community-based responses. Poverty, housing instability, and limited access to services compound family stress and individual trauma. This analysis will identify service gaps and systemic inequities that affect outcomes. Addressing the condition is essential for sustaining a real change and aligns with social workers' commitment to social justice and intervention. Strengths and limitations. Strengths of this evaluation include that it is trauma-informed, culturally responsive, and ethically grounded. It integrates individual, family, and community systems. Lastly, it is flexible and responsive to the client's progress. The limitations of this evaluation include limited generalizability due to single subject design, potential bias and self-reported data, and ongoing safety and ethical challenges when evaluating abuse cases. Strengths and limitations continued. Validity and reliability are as follows in the different system levels. At the individual level, validity is strong through repeated measures. Reliability may be impacted by emotional distress, and at the family level, validity is strong through ecological framing, but data reliability may vary due to caregiver minimization or fear. At the community level, there is strong external validity using data and limited accuracy in linking outcomes directly to individual change. With an analysis of ethical and evidence-informed practice, strengths include adherence to trauma-informed care, client dignity, and mandated reporting laws. Limitations involve balancing evaluation with safety, consent, and avoiding re-traumatization. Acknowledging the limitation within the analysis demonstrates professional judgment and ethical responsibility while reinforcing the importance of evidence-informed and trauma-responsive practice. Conclusion. In conclusion, key takeaways from the case application are that Precious's experiences reflect the interaction of individual trauma, family violence, and community-level inequities. Effective interventions and evaluation must be multi-systemic, trauma-informed, and grounded in ADEI principles. And lastly, single subject and ecological evaluation approaches allow for meaningful, ethical assessment in complex cases. Implications for social work practice include that evaluation is a tool for ethical decision-making and continuous support. Centering the client voice while addressing structural barriers strengthens outcomes and accountability. And social workers play a critical role in linking micro-level change to meso and macro-level advocacy. Ultimately, Precious's challenges cannot be understood or addressed at a single level. The case highlights the profession of social work's responsibility to not only support individual healing, but also challenge the systems that perpetuate harm. These are my references.